Check. It's a lot of noise. Check. One more time. Sound good? Everything's working?
The weather is quite opposite.
All right, guys. Okay, there we go. We're all set. So tonight, I just have to preface that I am in no way, shape, or form a New Yorker or a type of New Yorker, or I don't. I've never been to New York. I've only heard about it. I am a straight left coaster. I have lived in almost every left coast state and very much a Californian living in Texas. And to me, New York is such a strange place. I mean, people on the West Coast are very much more relaxed and laid back. People on the East Coast very intense, high intensity, high energy. And a place like New York, there's such a density of people, but there's a lot going on in New York that is really concerning and distressing, because we're all Americans. We all believe in each other, theoretically. You know, we all want to see the best for each other. Liberals, conservatives, I genuinely want to see the best for everybody. But there is genuinely a problem in New York, a big problem. But usually big problems really surface through little things. And one of the things that's been coming up recently, I mean, even big names are making videos about it, is okay, you have this new mayor, Mamdani. Um, he sort of has this socialist platform and wants to defund the police. But now New York is broke. New York has a massive $12 billion deficit, and it has led to some stuff, especially like the trash and things like that, which we'll see here in a second, which is crazy to me. I mean, living here in Houston, one thing Houston's very good at is, even though, you know, you get trashed by the roads and stuff, compared to California or Los Angeles specifically, Houston's very good at picking up trash. Ironically, I have had a great experience with the trash services here at the house and other houses where I lived. I mean, we left a bunch of stuff outside. You know, in California, if you leave anything outside the bin, you have to make a special call for pickup. Here, they just take care of it. And even in this neighborhood, like, trash is taken care of. There was a dead dog. They came and picked it up the same day. It's really nice. Even downtown Houston, there is not a lot of trash, if any, anywhere. It's They're very good at picking up trash, but you have this progressive policy stance that leads to just a filthy place to live. I know New York has been infamous for being a disgusting place, which has got a lot of problems, but now these there is such a backlash to these problems because recently, I mean, the snow melted and there was a sludge, and there's just sidewalks of poop. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, this cannot be real. But those problems are just a mirror of a much larger systemic issue that's kind of hit New Yorkers here really soon through this new mayor. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to pay for trash services, infrastructure, city jobs, plumbing. You're talking about such a massive amount of money that they need to cover their bills. And it all stems back to, migrant policies. They were handing out, I think, debit or credit cards for what must have been like $500-$600 either a week or a month. I don't know. It's in one of these videos. You're just handing out free money to people. You got Americans who are like, hey, I need $600 a month on a prepaid credit card. But no, this is really, really gross. And so let's take a look at this.
Of course, if you live in the New York City area, the weather is quite opposite compared to how it is in New Orleans right now. There's still these dirty snow piles on the street. The snow is pretty much looking like a biohazard right now after we received snow a couple weeks ago. And this is kind of what it looked like after the storm, maybe a week after. Now it's just these dirty remnants of snow left on the street. I'm going to bring in our reporter, Stephanie Bertini, who's actually going to join me to discuss some of the sanitation and snow removal situations going on within New York City right now. Steph, thank you so much for coming on and joining me, first of all. But
hey.
I mean, listen, we've talked about this before. You walk outside on the streets, it's the most dirty snow. The sidewalks are filthy. I mean, it's been weeks since the last major storm. Why are these large piles of dirty snow still sitting along the curbs and intersections?
Well, I have no idea why the snow's still there, but what I can tell you that there's a lot of frustrated people, and they're frustrated because they're saying that dog owners specifically are using the piles of snow as opportunities to maybe not scoop after the dogs do what they got to do. And that's creating frustration in different parts of the city, including Manhattan, where I worked with photojournalist Lenny Torres today. He's editing our piece
Lenny.
now. There he is. We kind of drove around, walked around, talked to people, dog owners, dog walker, as well as, hold on, Meredith, do you see me?
Yep.
Dog owners. We talked to a dog walker, and then we talked to people who are not dog owners that are just like, this is
human poop?
disgusting. So obviously now, as temperatures have changed and there's different elements in the environment compared to how it was after that big snowfall, the snow is starting to melt. So yes, you got the garbage piled up, which was an issue, I guess, because as we reported extensively, they were focusing on snow removal. The city was. Then you got the element of the cold that's been keeping some of the snow ice intact. And then as it's melting now, we're finding out there's garbage, there's all the regular stuff that exists in New York City, and now
You kind of get the idea, but look at this poop, man. This was crazy.
This is apocalyptic shit. Literally apocalyptic shit. Yo, if you have a dog in New York City and you don't pick up your dog's dung, I say other New Yorkers have the right to pick it up for you and throw it at them. Clean your dog shit up, you filthy
Foul
animals.
language.
And yeah,
Oh
somehow,
my God.
some way, this is Mundumdum's fault. Yo, look at this.
That is miserable. Just everywhere. But it's worse than that. This is Casey Neistat.
This has been an exceptionally cold, extended period. That wind chill right now is 4 below.
Gone is the covering of fluffy white powder, replaced by the sludge right there.
New York City, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, a city that's beauty is only intensified by snowfall.
I want to be with you. See when the skies are blue.
That's kind of awesome. but few show what the city looks like after a snowstorm. This video, this is about the scum that covers the whole city every time after it snows. Everybody, especially on social media, loves to talk about how beautiful snow is in the city.
Yeah.
But no one talks about what happens after the snow stops falling.
It's horrendous. It is disgusting, and it gets dirty, and accumulates every bit of yellow and filth in the city.
That is poop. That is something green, perhaps vomit. Dog pee. This is dog pee. Dog pee. Pee. More pee. That's pee right there.
You know, unfortunately, as a New Yorker, you get immune to this stuff, but it's not ideal. Yeah, you see a lot of it everywhere. You know what I mean? Imagine you got beautiful City Hall right here, and you got the garbage about 100 feet away.
The city and sanitation workers have been doing an excellent job getting the snow off the streets, but it's an exercise in futility. We're supposed to get more snow this weekend. Beyond the filth left behind by stagnant snowfall, there's another issue. You see, New York City sidewalks are crowded anyways, but when you have the snow plows pushing the snow in from the street and then the shovelers pushing the snow off the sidewalk, it narrows down where you can walk, creating sort of a little rat maze that you have to shuffle through, navigating the snow, the street, and then the narrow paved area. This area in particular, behind me here, that's the Brooklyn Bridge, and then over here you've got City Hall. This is a high traffic area, yet there's just these little paths.
Casey Neistat, can I get a photo?
Yeah, sure.
Oh my god! Yo!
Quick.
I got you.
I wonder if this guy's just gonna wait till spring to get his car out. This car's totally trapped. Totally trapped. You see the trash and the snow combine to be this one trash snow-like substance. It just covers the whole city. So much garbage. So much garbage. Just garbage everywhere. There's just so much garbage. Just garbage. Garbage. Trash. 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 What's good?
Yo, what's good? Huge fans. What's up, man? What's up, Casey?
The snowstorms can make it particularly difficult to get a city bike onto the street. How often does it snow more than a foot or 30 centimeters in New York City?
In New York City, we get more than a foot, 30 centimeters of snow roughly once every 2 to 3 winters, based on long-term averages. Major dumps like that hit maybe 3 to 5 times a decade.
3 to 5 times like this a decade.
Right now, on January 30th, 2026, New York City is in the middle of an ongoing streak where daily high temperatures haven't gotten above freezing, 32 degrees Fahrenheit in Central Park. Reports show it's already hit 9 straight days as of January 30th, with forecasts pushing it toward 12 or more, making this the longest such cold snap since 2003, and nearly a decade for anything close to this.
It's been 23 years since the last time it was this cold for this long, and we got a foot of snow.
Living on the sidewalks, trudging through like 6 feet of snow, like it's crazy. Snow boots on.
Does it change your feelings towards New York City?
No, because there's so much that the city has to offer that you kind of have to just accept that with it, you know?
I'm in my office editing my New York City snow garbage video. Just so you know I'm not exaggerating, let me just show you what it looks like outside of my office. Wait, that guy's waving. How you doing? Okay. This is outside of my office. When I look out the window, trash. I don't mind this. Even with like the dog pee everywhere and the dog poop everywhere and the garbage and the snow and the ice all mixing together, it just makes the city like a little hard.
It's crazy. It's just a small thing, but it's definitely something that people live with, and I know it's hard, but I don't think it's going to get any easier with this new mayor. And you know, you see all the services that are required. You have trucks, you have shovelers, you have snow plows. They obviously don't have enough resources to really beef up the garbage disposal. So how is that gonna affect New Yorkers going into this next season, especially the one coming up here, where, man, they're trying to get some money from people to pay some back bills. But everybody was so happy to get Zoran. I mean, he won, beat out some really prominent names that have been leaders in New York for decades, and I think he's like 34 or something. He's young, but, you know.
The Big Apple had to choose between its first Muslim mayor and its youngest leader in generations, or a comeback to a long-time politician. 34-year-old socialist Zoran Mamdani has won against 67-year-old Andrew Cuomo and 71-year-old Republican Curtis Sliwa. Voters have shifted towards the left, away from Trump's far-right administration. Let's go straight to New York, where our correspondent Jessica Missouri is standing by for us in Brooklyn at the Paramount Theatre, where Zoran Mamdani will be speaking in front of his supporters. Jessica, what is the mood like where you are after a big day of voting and months of phenomenal campaigning?
Where there have been whoops of joy here and chants of Zoran, Zoran. His supporters are absolutely ecstatic. I've seen some of the volunteers who were going knocking on doors for Zoran Mamdani, throwing themselves on each other, hugging each other, saying, "We did it." There was a real grassroots effort to get Zoran Mamdani elected, and that effort has succeeded. So yes, a lively scene out here, a celebratory scene. People are delighted that he has won. He will be the next mayor of New York City. They worked hard to get him elected, and they are all filing in to attend his victory party. There are also some people out here trolling Zoran Mamdani. One young man dressed as Stalin, another dressed as Che Guevara, another who told me that he's posing as an illegal immigrant. They obviously are trying to use some sort of satire to criticize Zoran Mamdani and sort of play off some of the insults that we've heard from Donald Trump. But on the whole, it is an atmosphere of joy out here. Mamdani.
Yeah, people were super excited, but I wonder 3 months later, what is the
New York's mayor has some nightmare news for the city.
Mayor Mamdani is saying that if the state doesn't tax the rich, he'll have to raise property tax here in the city.
And it's all part of his new spending plan that he calls a last resort.
If we do not fix this structural imbalance and do not heed the calls of New Yorkers to raise taxes on the wealthy, this crisis will not disappear. It will simply return, year after year, forcing harder and harsher choices each time.
Why don't you spend less
money? If we
money?
do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second.
What's that?
More harmful.
Simple question.
Harmful?
Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control.
Like saving money?
We would have to raise property taxes.
Oh, property tax!
We would also be forced to raid our reserves. To balance the budget as required by law, our preliminary budget takes the only path within our control, the second path.
So there's only two paths? Either the rich people pay for what I want, Or the poor people pay for what I want. But here's where things get wild. The local CBS reporter confronted him on his ideology. Listen to this.
I wonder if we have a situation where this is a clash between ideology and reality. And if faced with the fact that you won't get those taxes from Albany, would you really, really, really raise property taxes here in New York City?
Is he serious?
This is not a conversation on the basis of ideology.
Oh, it's
this
not
is a
ideology.
Conversation
Has nothing to do with
about a
communism.
fiscal crisis. I have long believed in the importance of taxing the rich. I've said so publicly many a time.
That's called ideology.
And I've long believed in the need for the state and the city's relationship to be a fair one. What we are speaking about in this moment, however, is not just that long-standing belief, the long-standing
ideology
issues that have characterized that relationship, but a generational fiscal crisis of $5.4 billion. And when faced with this crisis, the question is, who should pay these taxes?
No, how about no one?
I mean, this video goes on, and it's a lot of him reacting to the press conference. But I mean, some of the things he says in that is really, really good. But the problem is when you tax the rich can run.
Next guest.
The poor can't. And the thing is, rich people have choices. And if all the rich people leave because of high taxes and they go to places like Florida or Texas or somewhere else where they're not taxed to death, because the problem, taxes are a serious problem. I mean, if you're gonna raise property taxes, I think he's estimating like 9.5%. People who can afford to sell their property, or not even sell their property, just keep it and have it as a deduction. Those people aren't going to be the ones paying for this. It's the people who can't leave. It's old people, maybe younger people who work, have good jobs, work. But right now, I mean, the taxes on homes, I mean, I thought it was bad here, paying 8%. Because if you have like a $230,000 home, example of this one, you know, you're paying close to 18 grand a year in taxes, which breaks down to over $1,000 a month in property taxes. And that adds up. I mean, a $1,400 mortgage plus another $1,200 for property taxes. You know, it adds up to like $2,500 a month. Great, not in New York City, not in LA or San Francisco, but nonetheless, it's still, you still feel it, you know? But their property taxes are already crazy high. And I think this is Fox Business. They're going to tell you, I mean, the rich they have options. You can't just tax people who have the ability to not participate in your taxation.
To be governor, Florida Senator Rick Scott joins us now. Senator, great to see you. Florida has benefited in two ways. The destination for many of the New Yorkers, the rich New Yorkers that have moved out, and the share of millionaires living in New York has really collapsed in the last few years, well below 10% of the nation's. But a lot of the pension money that the taxes here go toward, about at least 10% of the pension payments every year, by my calculation, it's at least a couple of $2 billion, heads all the way down to Florida. That the only county out of the top 10 counties of pension payments every year that isn't in New York is in Florida. It's in Palm Beach. So say thank you, Senator.
Well, you know, it's interesting. In 2010, when I got elected as governor, there were more people living in New York than living in Florida. Now, 14 years later, there's 4 or 5 million more people living in Florida than New York. And what's happened is the wealthiest people are getting out. And do they take their income with them, take jobs with them, they take their charitable giving with them. And so who gets hurt? The poorest people in New York, the people that need a job, or maybe need some support from a charity. So what's happened is there's a complete exodus of income keeps leaving New York because it's not treated well. It's one, it's not a great place to get a job. Number two, it's not a great place to get an education. Number three, it's not safe. That's what people care about. So they're going to continue to move even faster. I mean, Mamdani will be the realtor of the year for the next 4 years for Florida. I mean, they're just going to send so many people to Florida, but it's going to hurt the poorest families in New York.
Senator, as residents leave New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, California, and they move to states like Florida, what is the strain being put on local and state governments to actually absorb this infrastructure change? Education, highways, services, how do they adjust to all of that?
Well, here's what's nice about Florida. So people move when they're making more money. They've had success and they move out of these places. So we get wealthier and wealthier people that come to our state. A lot of them, they wait until after they have kids, so they're paying taxes, but they don't even have kids in our K-12 school system. Then they give money to our universities to support our universities and our charities. So we've been able to build roads. We have great roads in our state. We're #1 higher education, top 5 in K-12 education. We're something like a 50-year low in our crime rate right now. When I left, it was 47-year low. I think it's like a 50-year low in our crime rate because we don't waste our money. And so Mamdani is going to be horrible for New York. It'll be good for Texas, Tennessee, Florida, but it's hurting the poorest. It's the poorest families. And so think about it. Socialism never works. I mean, think of our state's full of people that left Cuba, left Venezuela, left places where there was socialism. It doesn't work anywhere.
I want to move on to President Trump.
He's right. It doesn't work. You can't just eat the rich. To a certain degree, the rich own the companies that hire the people.
This is a fiscal crisis.
Make money.
That was not created by working and middle-class New Yorkers. It should not be placed on their backs in order for the city to resolve it.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani repeatedly emphasized he does not want to raise property taxes on New Yorkers already struggling to afford their homes, nor dip into the city's rainy day fund. He's presenting state leaders with an ultimatum to help him fill the $5.4 billion hole in the city budget. Raise taxes on millionaires or corporations, or he'll have no choice but to raise those property taxes. The mayor was asked repeatedly about if New Yorkers would feel betrayed.
We're not talking about free buses. We're talking about dipping into the rainy day fund. We're not talking about taxing millionaires. We're talking about taxing working class people.
Well, I am talking about taxing millionaires. What we need to do is reckon with the structural nature of this and put ourselves back on the kind of footing that allows us to advance an agenda.
The budget gap is mainly due to ballooning rental assistance programs and spending to reduce class sizes in schools. The mayor says he's already working to find savings throughout city government, but budget observers like the Citizens Budget Commission call a wealth tax versus property tax debate a false choice.
The best option is to...
I wonder if they were audited, honestly, how much fraud there is in New York.
To dig into the agencies, identify spending that is helping New Yorkers and keep it, that is not helping New Yorkers and shrink it or eliminating it.
And local leaders who generally support the mayor say a property tax hike is a non-starter.
We have to stand up for homeowners, in particular black and brown homeowners, who have always been disproportionately taxed.
Governor Kathy Hochul has worked with the mayor on the budget and is already pledging more than $3 billion to help pay for his child care plans and to stabilize the budget. She, too, is skeptical of new taxes.
I'm not supportive of property tax increase. I don't know that that's necessary, but let's find out what is really necessary for him to close that gap.
And the mayor says if he has to do this, and again, he says he really does not want to. He's proposing a 9.5% across-the-board property tax increase against 3 million homeowners or property owners and 100,000 commercial properties. The Speaker of the City Council, the council would have to approve this, says this is
9.5%. Ooh.
Look at this. New York City, $127 billion budget for 8.4 million people compared to next door Pennsylvania, $53.2 billion for 13 million people. And to your point, $117.4 billion in the state of Florida for a population 3 times the size that of New York City. Just how do you even begin to justify that?
Mayor Mamdani is saying that if the state doesn't tax the rich
of New York.
Am I seeing this right? $127 billion for 8.4 million people. $53.2 billion for 13 million people. and 117.4 billion. These are states versus a city. Where is all this money going? This is not $12 billion for childcare. Something's seriously wrong here.
City. Just how do you even begin to justify that?
Mayor Mamdani is saying that if the state doesn't tax the rich, they'll have to raise property tax here in the city.
And as political reporter Marcia Kramer explains, it's all part of his new spending plan that he calls a last resort.
But I want to be clear. $5.4 billion is still a very steep mountain to climb.
In laying out his $127 billion fiscal plan that, despite the gap, increases spending by over $14 billion, the mayor offered a strategy that offers Governor Hochul and state lawmakers a Hobson's choice. Either pass election year tax hikes on the rich and corporations, or he will raise property taxes on everyone, homeowners, building owners, and corporations that own property here.
The property tax increase, if the city was forced to do so, would be at a 9.5% increase. This is something that we do not want to do, and this is something that we are going to utilize every single option to ensure does not come to pass.
But to some, it was a cynical attempt to leverage his popularity to wring more money out of Albany. Facing re-election, Governor Hochul has already ruled out taxing the rich, even though, by Mamdani's calculations, it's only 33,000 New York City residents. And today, the governor said she was against a property tax.
I'm not supportive of property.
A situation where they raise.
Hey, oh boy. We got some more devastating news for New Yorkers.
Devastating.
Zohran Mamdani voters who are finding out firsthand what socialism is actually like, right? What is it like to have a socialist mayor, a guy who is unapologetically a socialist? And the results are pretty much what everybody who had common sense said that they were going to be, right? A disaster, right? Zohran Mamdani is already off to a terrible start. You have people literally freezing to death in the streets because of his stupid policies of not clearing homeless encampments, right? So just allowing people to freeze to death. He's now getting a whole lot of backlash for having to increase property taxes because he can't tax the rich instead of just cutting spending. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that because New York residents are fuming. They're fuming over the possibility of having their taxes raised. But what I want to talk about right now is Mamdani dealing with the so-called budget deficit that he created, right? That he made up, right? He made it up because he wants to spend more money to pay for illegal immigrants. And his socialist wish list of free stuff that he's finding out isn't really free, okay? And again, he's trying to tax the rich in order to make that happen. He's trying to force the state to tax
to defund and dismantle them, as Zohran has done. And we are at a 34-year low in the number of police officers. There's only one candidate on this stage, him, who has not said that he would try and build that number back up. So I think his Department of Community Safety, which he talks about, is just backdoor code word for continue to defund the police.
I will not defund them.
You would think that they would want more police and more sanitation workers rather than other stuff. I mean, we saw that video. There's trash and poop everywhere. There's crime. You have less people than whole states that are able to police and pick up trash. They can't even do that.
The police. I will work with the police because I believe the police have a critical role to play in creating public service, public safety. 65% of crimes in the first quarter of this year are still not solved. We need to ensure police can focus on those crimes, and we have mental health professionals and social workers to address and tackle and resolve the mental health crisis and homelessness.
Yeah, so lo and behold, in lieu of the fact that it looks like Democrats at the state level are not going to tax the rich like Mamdani wants in order to pay for his socialism, he's trying to defund the police in order to find money to pay for socialism, including paying for illegal immigrants to get free services, right? So without further ado, let's get into it. Mamdani proposes cutting NYPD budget, canceling 5,000 new officer hires. Wow. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani is looking to get the Big Apple on a tighter budget and seems to see cuts to the New York Police Department as a way of getting the city back on track. Mondami's predecessor, Mayor Eric Adams, proposed at the end of his term that the city hire 5,000 more NYPD officers. However, upon entering office, Mondami moved to cancel all orders signed by Adams, including his September 26, 2024 indictment. This included the proposed NYPD personnel increase. Under Adams' plan, the NYPD was set to add 300 officers in July of 2026, growing to 2,500 in July 2027, and eventually increasing to 5,000 additional officers annually in July 2028. The Adams plan allowed the NYPD to deploy approximately 40,000 officers to the streets, while Mondami's plan caps the number closer to its current level of 35,000. Additionally, the preliminary fiscal year 2027 budget, it notes the importance of, quote, significantly reducing current vacancies, which could include reductions in funding for the NYPD based on unfilled positions. The Gothamist, a New York-based publication, noted that Mondami's budget proposes a $22 million decrease in the NYPD's $6.4 billion budget next year. Yeah, so there you have it, right? There you have it. Mondami is defunding the police. Eric Adams was trying to get more officers on the streets, which are needed.
Make you more
right?
safe.
You need more officers on the streets.
Political reporter Marsha Kramer has the story.
Now again, fiscal crisis created by Zoran. He inherited a balanced budget, right? Inheriting a balanced budget is not a fiscal crisis. These politicians say, hey, we're going to spend more money than we have when they don't have to, right? They have a balanced budget and they call it a fiscal crisis. Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Flushing, Queens is a neighborhood of homeowners who are proud of their leafy streets, tiny plots of land, and the ability to have a touch of suburbia. Many, like Paul Graziano, have lived in the neighborhood for decades, but now they're worried they could be forced out by Mayor Mamdani's threat of a huge property tax hike. He says of his neighbors,
I think they would freak out.
Paul is worried too.
Absolutely impinge everything. I mean, I'm raising a 9-year-old kid, and everybody knows when you're raising kids, it's every dollar counts.
His tax.
But hey, Mondami's gonna give you free daycare.
I know. Like, what is this money
with
spent
that property
on?
tax increase, don't worry. He's gonna give you free daycare. That's how you make up for it, right? It's almost as if
just for
free
illegals.
daycare ain't free. Even if you got a kid, the fact is that free daycare, which will also include free daycare for illegals too, right? Remember that. It's almost as if free daycare ain't really free. That somebody has to foot the bill for free daycare.
Exactly.
Even if your kids can go for free, you're gonna pay for it some way, right? So now your property taxes are going up for that free daycare. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Why do these people have to learn the hard way? I don't understand. I don't get it. For the life of me, I will never understand why is it that Democrats have to actually be in office for people to realize how bad they are, right?
Hard facts, huh?
Remember when New York was paying out all that money for illegal aliens to stay in upscale hotel rooms?
The city is renting some 5,000 rooms at a swanky hotel just 1 block from Times Square with spectacular views of the iconic skyline. Rooms cost up to $700 per night. Oh, there's also a top-of-the-line fitness center on the 3rd floor.
And remember when they were giving the illegals $500 to $600 a month for groceries?
Kind of fear, but a fear tinged with frustration. Because when you hear about migrants receiving $53 million in prepaid credit cards, the Eric Adams administration in the mayor's office in New York City will tell you it's going to save about $600,000 a month. But that's not how poor people are looking at it. You know what black poor people are looking at it like? You know what Latinos who happen to be poor that arrived in this country are looking at it like? Where that money come from us?
But now that bill has come due, and the city is facing a $12 billion budget deficit.
I want to speak directly to New Yorkers who have for too long been fiscal.
We've seen this a few insurance premiums. It's time to get. Now there's $700 million. progressive Democrat in
think he talks
Chicago.
about
And
Chicago.
what did he do when he saw that there was a hole? He said, hey, he's going to raise tax. And that's what they did.
They raised shopping bag taxes and Uber rides, and if you want booze or online gaming, they raised those taxes. And those taxes are going to disproportionately affect the poor people. People who are working paycheck to paycheck are going to have to pay more for shopping bags, for instance.
And those poor black people in Chicago felt that they had been betrayed by their mayor and had buyer's remorse.
I'm standing here tonight with buyer's remorse because I supported Mayor Brandon Johnson. I feel like a fool right now. I feel like a plum fool. But I tell you what, it's okay. Because as I said last night, you can slap us in the face by ignoring us today, but we are punching you in the face by ignoring you at the polling places tomorrow.
Now, that's Chicago crying over
but you gotta live with
$600
it for
million.
years.
But then we moved to the city of New York, where the mayor at the time, Eric Adams, said that they were projecting a $12 billion budget deficit because of how much they spent on illegal aliens.
Finally, we need the federal government to lead a decompression strategy at the border so cities and states across the nation can do their part to shelter asylum seekers. Because cities like New York, Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, and El Paso cannot be left to shoulder a national crisis without the proper aid. Again, if we don't get the support we need, New Yorkers could be left with a $12 billion bill.
Now, to understand why we're $12 billion in a hole, I got to tell you about the sanctuary state of New York. I know. Every time I do one of these videos, I go through the whole story again. This is going to be a condensed version because I need someone who's watching this video for the first time, who's never watched one of my videos, to understand how we kind of got here. So for those of you who've watched these videos before, bear with me for like 2 or 3 minutes, right? So, as you know, New York State is a sanctuary state. This means that they will not assist the federal government in deportations. Now, they had this policy of welcoming migrants or immigrants with open arms, right? Now, if you've watched one of these videos before, you've probably seen this clip of the New York State Governor Kathy Hochul, who's literally begging for migrants to come to the city, saying that they're welcome, we can take care of you, we're going to do all this great stuff to you. We're going to roll that clip because I want you to see how committed New York State was to having migrants come and being able to take care of migrants to grow their state. They were essentially the sanctuary state of sanctuary states.
Want people to come here, despite where they came from or despite the circumstances that drove them to this country, into this state. We say you are welcome here. We are welcome with open arms, and we'll work to keep you safe. We'll not only house you, but we'll protect you. And the richness of the culture and the diversity and the food and the restaurants that we know are going to be coming because of these efforts are beyond measure. It's an extraordinary part of our story, and it's woven into the story of New York, and it makes us more vibrant.
Now, as we've also documented here on this channel many times, the advocates of the sanctuary state of New York also considered reasonable border policy to be racist and xenophobic. Their words, not mine. Now, when President Joe Biden got into office, the floodgates opened up, right? They were like, hey, we want to let as many people in as possible because we're pro-immigration. We want more immigrants. So Joe Biden did what the Democrats wanted him to do. They opened up the border. And you had millions, and I mean millions of people now crossing the southern border into the United States.
This family soon adding to what has become a record-breaking year of border crossings. In this fiscal year alone, Customs and Border Patrol have encountered more than 2 million migrants, breaking the record previously set last year. Most of those encounters, single men and family units.
Now, the problem with all this is that who's going to take care of these people? Like, you just heard it, 2 million people, right? 1.9, 2 million people. Who's going to take care of all those people? Because those people don't have jobs. They're not legally allowed to work. They're just kind of here in the United States. So that was the battle that we had going on. Now, the Trump administration kept everybody out, so you had immigration low. But the Biden administration said, hey, we're going to bring them all in, right? We're going to bring them all in. 2 million people came across the border, as you saw. So this now made a quandary for states like Texas, because all those people were walking into Texas and Arizona, all those border states. So the governor of Texas said, well, let's do this. New York says we want immigrants. They'll protect them. They'll stop them from being deported. We have the money to pay for them. Let's start sending these migrants to places that want them.
Radical agenda until it inconveniences them. They want to defund the police until their city gets burned down. They want green energy, but don't ask them to give up their private planes and SUVs. And they totally support open borders and sanctuary cities until a surge of migrants come to their backyard. This was D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser in 2017.
I can't say it any more clearly of what it means for Washington, D.C. to be a sanctuary city.
But now that her city's flooded with migrants, she's begging for the National Guard.
We need the federal government to be involved. So I've asked for the deployment of the Guard, as long as we need the Guard to deal with the humanitarian crisis that we expect to escalate. The number of people crossing the border seeking asylum, we expect to only go up.
But she's not the only one. New York Mayor Eric Adams is begging for federal help, too, as hundreds of migrants have overwhelmed the city's homeless shelters. We spoke to a few of them last month.
You stay at the shelter last night?
I slept right here on the street. They told us there are more opportunities for work here, more stability, everything we see on TV. But I see that is not true.
You'd think they'd blame Joe Biden's broken border policies for their newfound humanitarian crises, but they're blaming Texas Governor Greg Abbott for busing migrants to their cities.
Well, he said two things. One is that it was a crisis, and the fact of the matter is I don't know of a larger crisis in our country right now. And this is a crisis caused by the Biden administration. Remember,
city with the reality of how much they were spending. $12 billion on the migrant crisis.
Finally, we need the federal government to lead a decompression strategy at the border so cities and states across the nation can do their part to shelter asylum seekers. Because cities like New York, Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, and El Paso cannot be left to shoulder a national crisis without the proper aid. Again, if we don't get the support we need, New Yorkers could be left with a $12 billion bill.
Now, we'll fast forward. Mayor Adams lost the election, was kicked out for Zohran Mamdani, and Zohran comes in and says, hey, we got a $12 billion budget deficit for taking care of migrants. We need to tax the people so we can pay for the illegal migrants that we put up in $600 hotel rooms. Here's what he said.
But it doesn't even sound like it's fully just the bill left over from this. It sounds like he wants to add all these other programs on and things that theoretically sound good. So he's going to forcibly take money from old people, retirees, homeowners, and supposedly the wealthy. He's going to take money from them to pay for stuff that isn't even on the budget right now.
Mayor Mamdani sounds the alarm about a massive $12 billion budget deficit and calls to tax the rich to close the gap.
I will be blunt. New York City is facing
than $1 million a year. Tax his way out of this. Here is what he's proposing.
Let's break this all down. Mamdani says his main focus is to balance the budget, and it's through savings and efficiencies. He pointed to a, quote, unusable AI chatbot that cost the city $500,000. He says slashing that's going to help, but it's not going to be enough. Mamdani's goal is also to get some more money from the state. He says that there is an $8 billion a year difference between what the city provides in revenue to the state and what the state gives back to the city. But the biggest piece of the puzzle, raising taxes. Mamdani wants to raise the corporate tax to 11.5%, and that would match New Jersey's rate. His plan is also to tax any household that makes over $1 million, an additional 2%. Now, this really doesn't come as a surprise. This is what he ran on. However, Governor Kathy Hochul has repeatedly said that she's against raising taxes. So this is what Mamdani said in response to someone asking about that today.
We've been very open and honest with the governor and the governor's team, as well as with legislative leaders, as to the scale of this crisis and the need for us to respond to it in a manner that addresses the enormity of it. That will require increased revenue. It will require a new relationship with the state.
So as you just heard, the mayor needs the governor to raise taxes. But the governor, her name is Kathy Hochul, decided she will not raise taxes, period.
We're not raising taxes in the state of New York. I'm not raising taxes for the sake of raising taxes. So he'll continue to say what he needs to say. I'll continue to say what I want to say, and you can report it any way you want.
But Mamdani believes he can persuade the governor and lawmakers.
As he has described it, a democratic socialist agenda. Free childcare, free buses, rent freeze. The list goes on.
Nothing's free.
I talked to him on Monday night. He said to me he hasn't wavered 1 millimeter on raising taxes on New York City's wealthiest residents to pay for some of that. Now, Governor, you have said repeatedly that you would not raise taxes. You said, quote, I've said there's no new income taxes. Do you stand by that promise?
Yes.
So we're at the end of the video. In Chicago, they decided to...
Yes. That's where we're at.
What's going on, y'all? It's Steve here. So Zohran Mamdani, he is in some serious hot water with his supporters.
Mobs are storming the New York City mayor's mansion over alleged ties to Epstein.
That's right, we know about the mob. Now listen,
wow.
We was with you, Zohran. We voted for you, Zohran. We advocated for you, Zohran.
I did not see this coming. The new Epstein drop reveals that New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani's mom not just attended one of Ghislaine Maxwell's parties, but she had one thrown in her honor.
Really?
Mamdani's mom, Mira Nair, is a...
This isn't on topic, but there was something that Zohran's the father might be Epstein. It's a whole thing. But let's look at the property tax. So this is a class 1. So if you got $1 million house, you're already, in the year of 2026, you're already paying 19.843%. 19, 12, 11, 10. It's like 10%. Okay. It's 2% more than here, but it's still 2% on $250,000 house. Man, that's a lot still. Man, 19%. And he wants to raise this 9.5%. For what? Buses and childcare? No way. You know how many people will go homeless? You know how many people will be forced? See, the thing is with property tax, if you don't pay it, they come and take your property. The government then has this, through miracle of paper and letters on paper, they get to come and steal your house from you if you don't pay your property taxes. And you're talking about 19.843% jumping up to... Let me just bust out the calculator here real quick. Hold on. 0.843 plus 9.5. 29.343%. So if you have $1 million house, you're almost paying $300,000 on $1 million house every single year. Oh my God. I even did some calculations. So 100 right now where it's at, you're paying $198,430 on $1 million house. That is so much. What is that every month? Because they charge you once a year, so you gotta actually save for your property taxes. $16,000 a month. That's your rent to the government right now. Oh my God! What if with the tax increase? $24,000. I don't know if you can see this. $24,452.50 every single month on $1 million home. You got to remember, New York housing is crazy expensive. I even looked it up. I was like, well, what are some of the Zillows going on here? I do not know the area. Oh my God. Okay, you want this place in Queens right here? It's 862 square feet? What is this? Let's look at the exact number on how much, with the increase, you'll pay a month. No way. That can't be real. No, that is real. Hold on. I'm going to double check this. This is insane. That's not even, how can anybody pay that? That's $21,000 a month with the increase on this property. Plus your mortgage. That's almost 4 times. Nah, that can't be real. That can't be real. I gotta double check. How are... It can't be on the market. That's too much money. That's way too much money that they're demanding. Per 1,000. Okay, yeah, that No, that's still a lot of money, man. How does that... That's unreasonable. Oh, this is 14.
Education and generally defined as land and any permanent structures attached. The total value of a real property is determined by a local official called an assessor, and the determination he or she makes find the market value of your property by the local level of assessment. If your city or town was recently reassessed, the level of assessment will still be close to 100% of market value. However, if it's been some time since the last reassessment, it's likely that the level of assessment will be less than 100%. The longer it has been, the lower the level of assessment will be, and the more likely that your assessment is no longer accurate. If your community assesses at 100% of market value, the total assessed value of your property should be roughly equal to its market value. If assessments are not at a market value, you can use the market value listed on the assessment roll as a starting point to determine if you've been assessed fairly. Of May, is my assessment fair? Revenue sources shrink, the total of your assessed property in a municipality changes, or the tax levy apportioned to the different municipalities changes. So, how does your assessment translate to the amount of taxes you pay? First, taxing jurisdictions, school districts, municipalities, counties, and others have to determine the amount of revenue that needs to be raised to fund public services. They determine their budgets, the total projected expenses for the year, and then subtract all revenues from sources other than the property tax. The result is the levy, the total amount of property taxes to be collected. The tax levy is then divided by the total assessed value of the jurisdiction to arrive at the tax rate. Ultimately, your assessment will be multiplied by the tax rate to arrive at the property taxes you owe. For more information on property taxes, watch our other informational videos.
Wow, this is confusing. Oh my God. Okay, so it's annual. That's still a lot of money, man. But what if it goes up to 29? Man, you're paying an extra 10 grand. And that's an extra 1,000 a month. Easy. On $1 million home. That would be close to 1,000 on this home. Just a flat 10%, $899 a month. Wow. That's a lot. Oh my God. You're spending an extra 2 grand a month. Oh, that's crazy. You can just divide it, get rid of the 3 zeros. His increase would be this number a month. Pretty much. Not exact, but and a lot of these are condos. Look at the property prices. 2 beds, 1 bath, $500,000 condo. 700 square feet. And you pay rent. He's going to add another 500 a month. Oh my God. 4.35. Oh my dude, that would be 4.5 grand a month increase. This'll hurt people bad. 9.5%. That's a lot. Oh man. Well, it's unfortunate, but I'm really praying this doesn't come to pass, because I know for a fact this will genuinely hurt a lot of older people and people who've owned their homes for a long time, and people who are trying to get a house, because now you're paying a mortgage on this. A lot of these places, I mean, some of the cheapest ones I'm seeing is $780K. That's the cheapest one I see right now. 1 bedroom, 1 bath condo, $780K. Not only are you paying your mortgage, then you're paying your property tax, then you're paying whatever municipal tax on top of that is. So he wants to add another 9.5% on top of that. That's brutal, man. A studio for 400 grand. Studio. Your living and sleeping space are connected into one space. It's a room. It's a room with a kitchen and a bathroom. It's a hallway. Look, they did this 3D virtual. This literally looks at this. You look one way, then you look the other way, and that's your house with a bathroom. And then you're going to pay another $500 a month for this on top of your mortgage. Wow. Oh my God. It's already expensive. Prices here are just bonkers. Oh my God. It's expensive here too. Here you go. 700K. 2 bedroom, 2 bath. $800,000 for this. That is tight. And then you got to pay the government another $1,000 a month. He wants another $1,000 a month for child care. Oh, I didn't even share the screen. This is the one I was looking at. And free buses? This is going to brutalize New Yorkers, man. That's crazy. Well, I'm glad I got the math sorted out because I was freaking out at first. But yeah, guys. Man, New York is going to have a rough next couple of years if this guy wants to attack people like this. This is an attack on people. That's what this is. And I'm really praying that this stuff doesn't go through and that the citizens of New York are able to convince the mayor to spend less. He's already spending more than the entire state of Florida. And this isn't some crazy, oh, we got to figure it out, or, oh, we got to attack the police. No, there are genuine solutions to get it down from 100 billion to under 80, under 70, under 60, under 70 maybe. I don't know. New York's a big city. It's got a lot going on, but this is a crazy amount of money, man. Here, this is recommending this place for me. 3 bedroom, 3 bath. Only $1.5 million. Oh my God. What is $1.5 million buying? Can I even find a 1.5 million? Maybe around here somewhere. Kirby. Yeah, those are the Kirby mansions. This ain't 1.5 million, but for a mil, and you only pay 8%, not 19.8%. Four bedroom, 3,000 square feet. That's a nice looking place. I've actually seen these places because I used to live over here. Where's a 1.5 miller? Here we go. 1.63 million. But it's an actual house on a street with other nice houses. It's a nice little house, man. That little bedroom right there for the kid? Come on. That's a nice kitchen. How many square feet? 3,500 square feet. Yeah. But exchanges, you gotta live in Houston. It's hot, it's sweaty. It's slightly chilly in the winter. Never doesn't really snow. Some places it has mosquitoes. The ocean is, you know, an hour away, 40 minutes away. But yeah, New York is going to be in some problems. But hey, man, as we say on the channel, keep fighting. Don't give up. Fight like heaven. We're going to be praying for the New Yorkers to make it through this. All right. See you on the next one.